First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to talk my kids into forgiving their dad? My kid's dad and I were married for a decade. He cheated on me multiple times and ended up leaving me for one of the women. This all came out during our anniversary party, which he actively helped me to plan. He went home with her that night and our marriage was over. I was heartbroken, angry, humiliated. Worse still was people in his life knew about it. His younger brother and two of his friends were actively encouraging it and laughing behind my back, and he was joining them. Finding it all out was hard, but our kids never heard it from me what happened. I learned how to fake a smile and be civil, and I learned how to keep a distance without tension or bringing my kids into it. He and his wife treated the kids well, and I tried to focus on that while my kids were around so they would never know. I have healed, but there will always be some anger there. Not because of the cheating exactly, but the way he treated me. Allowing me to believe things were fine, while laughing behind my back with his buddies to humiliate me when we were supposed to be celebrating a milestone with our friends and family. And even afterwards, he wasn't exactly kind to me. My kids and I always had a good relationship, and this seems to have bothered my ex's wife, who, they were never very close, and she started drinking a few years ago. All the kids are grown now, so it wasn't a huge concern to me. But a few weeks ago, she seemingly decided to rant and rave at the kids, revealing the affair and saying they treated her unfairly. The kids are mad at their dad and her. My ex came and asked me to talk to them and convince them to forgive him. I refused. He claimed I was an A and putting my feelings above theirs. But in reality, we have talked. I have told them they should not put my feelings into this, but I won't tell them not to be mad. They know more than I ever would have wanted them to know, even if I had chosen to tell them myself, which I never did. I didn't want to burden them or make them feel like they had to pick sides. I wanted them to have a healthy childhood. Am I the a-hole if I don't encourage them to forgive their dad? I know my ex is mostly worried he won't get to be grandfather to our first grandchild if the kids cut him off. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole at all. Kids learned this from his new wife and he wants you to tell them how to feel? That is a special kind of stupid. Worst thing is, he doesn't even seem mad at her, just me. It's like they blame me for her telling them. It's dumb. Info. Do they know everything by now? The full story? Or just some incomplete version? They know everything. Then he should realize that his kids hate him for 1. Him cheating on their mother. 2. Him treating their mother like crap. 3. Him running away with his mistress in such a public way. 4. You still being kind enough to them and sparing them the details, and also not making him look like a douche, which he didn't deserve. It's one thing you not telling them, so not to poison them or whatever, but him to not have owned up to it. Yeah, big man cheats on his wife and laughs about it, but can't take responsibility even so many years later? They have every right to be mad at him, and he has to take it like a man and suck up to those kids as much as he can. Not the a-hole. You behaved really admirably here, and your kids can see that. Everyone's living with the consequences of their actions. I tried. It was not easy, especially dealing with their dad and his wife. But my kids were so young and struggled enough with a divorce. I could never have hurt them more by telling them what happened. Not the a-hole. Your kids are their own people. They'll forgive him in their own time. Or not. He made his bed and now he has to lie on it. Exactly. They are all grown with their lives. They will decide in their own time and in their own way. Now for the second story. Will I be the a-hole if I uninvite my dad and stepmom to my wedding after finding out they cheated 20 years ago? I'm engaged, getting married in February. Recently, my fiancé and I were at dinner with my stepsisters. Their mom remarried my dad when we were young and we were really close. I don't really even see them as stepsisters. My fiancé was talking about how cool it is that we're close and asked how old we were when we met. Oldest sister, only 6 months older than me, and I were disagreeing about the timeline of when we met. I remember seeing stepmom around and specifically going to their house. Sister remembers that time, but no way, because they live in that house with their mom and dad. We then realized that their divorces were final with a month or so of each other, and I definitely knew who my stepmom was before that. We all remembered it as both parents were divorced, then met, but now that I'm really putting the pieces together, that isn't the case. I'm also incredibly close with my mom, and she has always hated stepmom, but she played nice for the most part. I always thought she was just jealous of stepmom. We all confronted them together. They just sat wide-eyed surprised we remember all that. And essentially, they didn't go about it the right way, but they loved each other and eventually decided to be together. All of us are freaking furious. I've always idolized my father, and girls look up to their mom as well. I asked my mom about it, and she burst into tears about how she didn't want me to hate my dad. She put on a brave face with the two of them for 20 years now, and had to do it alone. Discussing with my fiancé, I don't want to subject my mother to that on my wedding day. She thinks I'm being extreme. Admittedly, this is new information to me and raw. I do love my dad and my stepmom too, but they lied to me for 20 years essentially. Will I be the a-hole? Edit. I'm a man. Apparently, I'm using the wrong form of fiancé. Also, I haven't mentioned this to either of my sisters, and they're both in the bridal party, but I know the older one was as shocked and angry as me. Younger was too young to really remember her parents together. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's your wedding, and therefore your choice who you invite. But I talked to your mom first about it, and really think it over with your fiancé so you don't make a decision you might regret later. You and your stepsisters have a right to be pissed off about this, but uninviting people that you admit to still love about seems to be an overreaction. Something else to remember, they didn't lie to you for 20 years. Their relationships and the issues caused by it had nothing to do with you and your stepsisters. It was their issue. Your mother did the right thing by not destroying your relationship with your father because his infidelity doesn't mean he was a bad parent. That's especially true since you said that you've always idolized him and you're all close. No, when you cheat and have kids, you hurt the kids in their own right. The kids have a right to be upset and work through whatever feelings infidelity brings up. They absolutely did lie to Opie for 20 years. If the kids had known about the cheating, it might have been harder for everybody to play happy family. Doubtless, dad and stepmom knew that it would be harder and wanted to avoid that. They were selfish. They lied. Not the a-hole, but as others have stated, I think you'll regret it, especially seeing as you have such a good relationship with them. This is possibly unorthodox, but you could always ask your mother to be the one that walks you down the aisle, although doing so might create unnecessary drama. That said, she's held onto this burden for years to help preserve your relationship with your father, and I feel compelled to applaud her for that. Regardless of what decisions you make, I hope your wedding day is a happy one. Congratulations. Edit. In all honesty, I just assumed OP was a woman. Sorry about that, OP. I'm a dude, but was already planning on doing a son/mother dance. Thanks for the suggestion though. Might just have my mom escort me down. No a-holes here in the current situation, but be honest with yourself about why you're doing it or for whom. Your mom kept quiet all those years because she didn't want you to hate your dad. She thinks uninviting him from the wedding is extreme. It's not what she wants. If you're angry because you feel lied to, okay. I lean towards thinking it's none of your business, but you feel how you feel, and it's your wedding. But don't hide behind your mom, who's the actual injured party in all this. I fully agree with this. Opie is entitled to his feelings and to invite/uninvite anyone from his wedding that he chooses. That said, this is something that was truly between his parents. They worked hard to co-parent and keep the kids out of their marital affairs. Reddit tends to think cheaters are unworthy of forgiveness or ever moving on. But let's be real. Relationships are sometimes very complicated, and things aren't always as black and white as one side being good and one side being the scum of the earth. Sadly, Opie's mom was the offended party, so I think that her feelings should be considered. She seems to just want to move on without the drama or Opie choosing sides, and this whole mess is probably just making her relieve something she doesn't want to. Now, for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my children's grandparents their other grandchild is not my responsibility? I have 2 sons with my ex-husband. 2.5 years ago, he left me for another woman who was pregnant with his child. Once the divorce was finalized, he lost visitation rights to our children because of an unsuitable home environment, and he refused supervised visitation. My boys never met their half-sibling because of this. Until my ex passed away and his wife dropped off the face of the earth, leaving the child with my ex's parents. I then agreed to facilitate a relationship. The grandparents, however, were not happy with this and wanted me to take in this child and raise them because I am the mother of their siblings, and the child's mother is likely to never come back. They say occasional visits are not good enough. They also say that I could provide a better family structure than they could because they would never grow up doubting they were loved by a parent. The truth is, I could not bring myself to be active in this child's life. It's not the child's fault my ex had an affair, but I would never be able to give them the love I give my boys because they're mixed up in the mess my ex created. And the truth is, I don't want to be this child's mother or love them. I want as much of a clean break from my ex as I can get while still allowing my boys a relationship with their paternal family. The grandparents are now very unhappy with me and try to change my mind, and a few close friends who are supporting me have become divided. One of my oldest friends told me she believes I am doing the wrong thing refusing. She told me my children and this child would be better off if I just embrace the child and learn to love them. She believes it could heal me too. Another very close friend believes I am doing the best thing because if I feel this way, regardless of whether it's right or wrong, it would not be good for the child. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Jesus, I'm so sorry for you. You're right that the child is not your responsibility, and I think you're also right in your decision. If you know you can't give them what they need, then it is probably for the best that you don't take them in. And hell, any of these friends who think you are wrong should feel free to contact the grandparents and offer to take in this kid that they have no connection to. Exactly. No connection would actually be better than the extreme negative connection Opie has with this child. This kid is a constant reminder of one of the biggest betrayals and most painful times in Opie's life. Even if she did agree to take the kid in, they would grow up under the shadow of the pain caused by their father. Even if Opie was a total saint and never once let slip even a shred of her negative feelings in the presence of the kid, an impossible, superhuman feat. The truth will come out eventually, and the kid would be psychologically damaged growing up in that environment. She believes it will heal you too because it will be a nice story. Life is not a story. Not the a-hole. The grandparents raise a cheater and the broken family is proof of that. They just want you to take the kid so that they can pretend all's well that ends well. Agreed, this scenario would make the perfect rom-com movie where things like limited finances, housing, work, and time constraints don't exist. But all of these and more exist in the real world, and I respect Opie for being honest about her limits. Not the a-hole. While it is unfortunate that this child has lost their father and that their mother ran off, this child is not your responsibility. You should never take in a child whom you do not want. Your former in-laws and your friend who think that taking in your husband's affair baby would heal you are the a-holes. Take care of your children and stand your ground. Good luck. Part of me wants Opie to give out contact details of these friends to the ex-in-laws as interested parties, so they know what it is like to have someone try and foist a random child on you. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for taking my shares in my homophobic grandmother's will? I, 20 female, am gay, and my grandmother was completely against my lifestyle choices and has threatened to remove me from her will if I didn't change, which I didn't. Now, my grandmother recently died due to heart failure. I am her closest granddaughter and she has left majority of the property and money she had for me, with some parts going to distant cousins of mine. The money and property she left is enough for me to go through college without any student debt. Plus, she left me a house to live in. Now, everyone knew how she was homophobic and had threatened me multiple times that she would remove me from the will and give it all away. My family members think that this is an a-hole move to take all the things she has left me, knowing that she clearly didn't want me in the will. They illegally cannot do anything. I have consulted a lawyer. Now, I do think that it may be an a-hole move to take my share in the will, even though she was clear that she won't support my lifestyle. Am I the a-hole? Now, for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If your conscience will be clear, because that's what matters most here, take the money and use it for something good. Better that than the money going to people/groups that perpetuate homophobic beliefs. Not the a-hole. Your grandmother left you in the will for a reason. She chose for you to have a future. whether she likes your sexuality or not. She didn't remove you like everyone and herself kept saying, so it is your right to receive what she wanted for you. Homophobia is awful, and to deal with it from family is much worse. Receive what is rightfully yours and live your best life. I completely agree. Not the a-hole OP. If your grandmother really didn't want you in her will, she would have removed you from it like she kept saying. You even say she threatened many times, so I'm guessing it was over a long enough time period that she had plenty of time to actually change the will. I'm guessing those giving you a hard time simply want all the money and the house. If it's enough for a debt-free college, it's substantial, and nothing brings the worst out of people than money they feel falsely entitled to, and their greed. Use that money to give yourself a good start, get your education, and live well. Clearly, even though she didn't approve of your lifestyle, which really sucks and must have hurt, she loved you enough to still want to take care of you after her passing. Not the a-hole. Take it. Even if Grandma kept saying horrible things, she chose to not remove you. These people are greedy if they're saying not to take it. Now, for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my ex-wife come to the cabin where we used to bring our son before he passed? My son Liam passed away over 2 years ago when he was only 5. I can't even begin to describe the pain we went through. Even now, I'm still learning how to cope and live every day without him. He was such a beautiful soul, and I miss him every second of my life. 7 months after he passed, my ex-wife and I split after she slept with her coworker. She wanted us to work it out and said she only cheated because she was struggling with her grief. That might have been true, but she still hurt me, so we divorced. My ex stayed in our old house. Even if it hurt leaving the home my son grew up in, I couldn't take being in that house after catching her in the act. Now about the cabin, we started coming every year around the holidays ever since Liam was a baby. Always the same one, because of the beautiful view of the lake that looked even better because of all the snow. It was Liam's favorite place in the world. My parents were friends with the elderly couple who owned the cabin. They rarely stayed there, so they always rented it out to us. Beginning of this year, they announced they were going to sell the place, and I decided to buy it myself. I work from home and liked the idea of living there, away from the city and away from everything that happened. I've adjusted well to living out here, and I feel so much closer to my son, living in a place that holds so many wonderful memories. Tainted by what happened. I never knew if my ex ever came up here on her own after my son passed. I know I didn't. She contacted me after she found out that I now live here. She asked if she could maybe come up because this is the time of year we used to bring Liam, and she wants to visit the place our son loved so much. I had to tell her no. Not to be petty, but because I didn't know if I could handle her being here after what she did. I'm still dealing with everything in therapy and have yet to forgive her. Obviously, she was upset by this and begged me over the phone to let her visit. She cried, but I just couldn't. It hurt too much to think about her being here in my space when I still feel the pain she caused me. My father understands and is on my side, but my mother is saying I am being unreasonable because my ex also lost her son and wants to visit the place he loved most. Especially right now that she has no one in her life, and it might do us some good to grieve together. I am feeling torn about this. On the one hand, yes, she is Liam's mom and feels the same pain I do, so I understand her wanting to feel close to him. But on the other, I don't know if I can handle her being in my space when I'm still trying to get over the hurt. Even if I'm not present when she comes by, I will still know she was there, and it'll feel like she's intruded my safe place. It's a tough situation, but I just don't see it happening. Am I the a-hole for it? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You should be keeping your boundaries and doing what's good for you. If I got the timeline right, she could have visited the cabin before you bought it. She can also go and visit the lake and doesn't need to come to the cabin itself. My guess is she's using that as an excuse to maybe try to see you, / try to get you back. Exactly. This is pure manipulation, born from her inability to properly deal with loss. Edit. Apparently, some readers missed a part of the story where his ex-wife stated that the affair was a direct result of the loss of their son. Causing more heartbreak and pain to those who are grieving is an inappropriate way to deal personally with loss. Demanding others to prioritize your pain over theirs is an inappropriate way to deal with loss. I thought these were obvious. Or, And just bear with me here. She wants to go there around holidays, which is when they took their son there. I mean, that's when she's going to want to be visiting there when her son was there. This is no a-holes here, and OB is definitely not the a-hole. But people here jump to manipulate and all these extremes way too fast. Like, chill out, people. We don't know all the facts. And yes, I did read that she still wanted to be with him, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she's trying to use her dead son's favorite place to manipulate OP. You were absolutely not the a-hole. Your ex gets to remember Liam in his everyday home, and now you do also. I'm so sorry for your loss and the extra grief that your wife caused with her own pain. It is not your job to make yourself uncomfortable or an additional pain to help her. Honor what feels right / best to you. I was just about to comment this. She has the everyday home that he gave up and has a new home that was the vacation homes. I understand the loss they both endured, but she doesn't get to impede on his home. It's very selfish of her knowing everything that happened. He is functioning on so little right now, and she should respect he needs space. She also probably has so many of their son's toys and photos. He's really starting over in the cabin from only memories. This isn't a vacation home anymore. It's just his home, not the a-hole. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for being upset about my lack of Christmas gifts? I, 17 male, wanted a PS5. I repeatedly told my parents I wanted a PS5. My mom said they were hard to come by and asked what else I'd like. I said nothing. If I couldn't get a PS5, then don't bother with anything else. That's the only thing I wanted. I may have been a little too insistent about it. Come Christmas morning, there's nothing for me but my favorite candy and a winter coat. I didn't understand and asked why I only got candy and a coat. My dad said I told them I didn't want anything else if they couldn't get me a PS5, so they didn't get me anything, except the coat because I need it, and my mom added a candy. I got upset and asked why they wouldn't have at least tried to get me something I might want. My dad said because I was becoming a spoiled brat. I disagreed, but my dad said I obviously don't hear how I talk to people, that I'm coming across more and more bratty, and that I'm not owed anything. Lots of people wanted PS5s or Xboxes, and a lot of them didn't get it. He said he could understand being mildly disappointed and not getting what I wanted, but a bratty entitled attitude had to stop. I told my dad he was being an a-hole to me, and I was just disappointed they didn't get me anything good. He said he didn't care if I was disappointed. He was disappointed in me for how materialistic I was being. When my brother, 20 male, called to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, I told him what happened, and he actually laughed and said it sounded like Dad was teaching me a lesson, and that I must have been acting like a real a-hole for him to do that. I don't see how I'm the a-hole for being disappointed I didn't get anything for Christmas, but my dad and brother are in agreement that I am. My brother suggested a post here. Now let's read the top judgment of this post. You're the a-hole. Your words, don't bother with anything else. You want a PS5? You're old enough to work for it. Your dad is right. You come across incredibly entitled and bratty. Imagine getting exactly what you ask for, and then taking your anger out on everyone around you when you get it. Sounds like an apology is in order to your parents, OP. You're the a-hole. Yep, or even getting more than what you ask for. How is OP just completely ignoring that he was gifted a new coat? That's a substantial gift. You're the a-hole. I'm angry that my family did exactly what I asked them to. You're the a-hole. Exactly. If OP had told his parents, I understand they're hard to get right now, but I'd rather get nothing for Christmas and get the PS5 when it's available, he probably would have got it eventually. I literally just did this with my kids and they are the same age. One wants PS5, the other wants an Xbox X. I could have gotten him the Xbox S, and he chose to wait for the X. So it took them to get new boots and gloves, and that's what they got for Christmas until I can get their systems and we had no issues. OP is definitely the a-hole. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for calling out my dad for not getting my mom a Christmas present in front of the entire family? I, female 16, live with my mom, dad, and sisters, 16, 13. Every year at Christmas, my mom's birthday and Mother's Day, my sisters and grandparents, on both sides, and I each get my mom a present. My dad doesn't. My mom always gets my dad nice presents though. This year alone, he got a TV for his birthday, a smoker, he loves barbecue, for Father's Day, and a PS5 for Christmas. She got a flower from our front yard for Mother's Day, and that's it. This year, my dad's parents, brother, sister, and their kids stayed with us for Christmas. When we were opening our presents, I looked over at my mom, and I could tell she was disappointed that my dad didn't get her anything again. So I asked my dad what he got her. He got very red and didn't say anything. His dad asked him if he ever gets my mom anything, and he answered no. His dad, brother, and sister called him a Nahal and asked me, my sisters, and my cousins to go to the game room. He stopped me later to tell me it was rude of me to call him out for not getting my mom anything, and he hasn't spoken to me since. Am I the a-hole for calling him out? Edit. I forgot to mention he gets himself very nice gifts for Christmas and his birthday. He bought himself an $800 computer and a new car this year. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If he doesn't want the embarrassment of being called out on his a-hole behavior, he simply needs to stop being an a-hole. It really is that easy. That's what a lot of people don't realize. It truly isn't hard to be a good or even decent person. Not the a-hole. If he's buying himself expensive gifts all the time, he can most likely afford to get his wife something nice. And even if he doesn't have the cash, he could at least put in some sort of effort like a card with a small gift. He's putting in zero effort. Not the a-hole. He buys himself a car and can't get his wife as much as a key ring. Besides, it was his family who followed up with a criticism, not you. I would love to have heard Grandpa ripping the dad a new one, along with the aunt and uncle when the kids left the room. Very well played, OP. Your comment was innocuous on the surface, but had devastating repercussions given the audience. A+ work and not the a-hole. Update. After dinner, he left with his dad and came back with a diamond bracelet for my mom. Edit. They didn't buy the bracelet on Christmas, they bought it on the 26th. Sorry for not making that clear. I also don't know how my mom feels about the bracelet. I just saw my dad and Grandpa leave, then my dad came back and gave her the bracelet. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe.